thing was not set, so my phone had game time.
Ah,
All right. Well, I guess we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Massachusetts Pirate Party live stream. I am your spooky host, Malch Schlitzman. With us, as always, is Jamie O'Keefe, the handsome and wonderful leader. We have also, sorry, we have also Steve, the bicycle wizard maniac, and we also have Joe, who is joining us from the world's most comfortable bed. Joe, how's that bed holding up?
Oh my God, it is a bunk bed. I could have things bouncing on top of me and I would be fine.
Okay.
nice.
Well, I hope nobody's hopping on Pop right now.
No. I just got this wonderful dog with me, taking a
Oh,
snoozle. He's my big black lab. He's but a puppy though, even though he weighs over 100 pounds.
There's something about Labradors where they just don't know how big they are, and they get very big.
Well, the thing is, with him in particular, is that even he loves everybody. When the missus leaves, the way he howls is like just breaks your heart.
Hmm. So, anyway, let's talk about apps. They're on your phone, they're not on your computers. What are they? Who are they about? Boston's got this new app that's got a bunch of people in a kerfuffle. What's Be Together all about?
The Be Together. So yesterday, Boston put in a vaccination requirement, such that if you're going to indoor spaces like movie theaters, music concert venues, restaurants, Pilates studios, indoor pools, whatever, you've got to go and show proof of vaccination. This has been done in other countries like Austria and places like that. Um, and so one of the things that goes along with that is they have an app that you can download on your iPhone or Android phone and scan in or take a photograph, probably more likely, of your vaccination card, and then have one for yourself, your spouse, or significant other, your children, your parents, whatever, so that when you go there, when you go to some venue, you can show them easily. Um, we don't know where that data is stored, so that has a security issue.
Yeah, like so the problem with taking a photo just with a camera app is that that photo containing all of your precious data is just going to be sitting unencrypted on your phone's hard drive, accessible by every other app. Ideally, this is going to hold it in some sort of like encrypted container, not accessible by other apps. Um, but in an ideal situation, the big dig, fill in the rest of the joke yourself. Um, so that's another point of concern.
yeah. I do appreciate Boston doing, imposing the vaccination requirement. I got a kick from somebody on Twitter who was, determined to make a list of all the Boston restaurants that required vaccination because they wanted to boycott them. Well, as of yesterday, this person has just signed up to come up with a list of every single effing restaurant in Boston.
Oh, it can't
I
be
would.
that hard.
It couldn't be that hard. I mean, I would just be happy with a list of, like burrito places or, the Dunky D's directory or, whatever you want to call it. But, I think I understand that Mayor Wu's, intention was to like sort of take it out of the hands of the restaurant owners so they don't have to go explaining to people. It's just like becomes a law, a local law that they have to comply with. And, therefore there would be less pressure on them. I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, this is something that the executive branch of society needs to handle. It is an executive function. Um, a patchwork approach is never gonna work. It has attracted quite a bit of pushback. I understand there's been some fairly vile protests organized outside of her house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sucks.
I mean, isn't it the same as the people who were just walking around when the pandemic split or pandemic happened and you had them like randomly licking things? You know,
Yeah.
Oh my
it's the
God,
same
I had
crowd.
forgotten about that.
I'm sorry to bring it up, but I
Uh,
mean, it's the same people who want to like push the envelope, who want to be all edgy, and then all they're doing is just putting the rest of us at risk. I mean, I'm for protecting your privacy, but at the same time, we already mandate the flu shot, right? So just to be in schools and to be in public places,
I
it
don't think
should
we
just be
mandate
something.
flu shots.
MMRs,
We,
definitely.
Well,
yes,
maybe not
certainly.
the
Yeah,
flu, but
chicken
the
pox. That.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Just to be in school, be in public places. This would be no different, you know?
In an ideal world.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me about the app is, as I said, where the data is stored. And it would be good if they release the code. I mean, it should be a fairly simple app. There's no proprietary, there's nothing proprietary about it. Can't they just put the code up on a GitHub repo or any Git repo so that people can go and look at it?
Public records request.
If you are
That's a good idea.
like, if you're a security researcher and you do reverse engineer this app and you find something that you want to tell the world about, contact us directly. We will help you leak it responsibly and keep it from getting back to you personally. Because, like, yeah, if the government isn't going to play fair, then we're going to break the rules.
So any
But
other?
in other news, we've been seeing a spike of COVID, and from the from thankfully, at least in the Boston, Eastern Massachusetts area, the testing they've been doing of sewage indicates that the number of people having COVID is going to decline. And indeed, we've seen a decline from, I think, 67,000 people 5 days ago to about 22,000 new cases in the last few days.
Which is encouraging.
Mhm.
And this technology, or at least the usage of this, came out about what, a year ago?
Yeah, it looks at genetic traces sampled from sewage. So this is a leading indicator. We've got probably another week to go before the caseload itself starts decreasing. Bodies, man, bodies are weird.
Yeah, there's I'll resist the temptation to talk about the awesomeness that is the MWRA sewer system in eastern Massachusetts and Deer Island. But one of I'm glad the case I'm looking forward to the caseload declining because my understanding is that, intensive care units all over the place are like at capacity and burnout is becoming a real issue.
Yeah.
And I've been sort of cautious during the last couple of weeks, or while Omicron was spiking, just because if I'm, first of all, I don't want to contribute to stressing the healthcare system because it's pretty damn stressed as it is. And second is you just have to realize that the folks who work in those, the folks who work at the hospitals are, really giving all that they can and then some. Despite that, the question is, well, if there's a long delay for treatment, I don't want to necessarily put myself in that situation.
Yeah, and the executives that own these healthcare companies are using this to crack down on workers. The tenant healthcare is trumping up more charges against the Massachusetts Nurses Association. They're claiming that the union illegally requested dues from people, but it was a paperwork error, and they contacted directly everyone who was affected. So it's like, blow it out your ass, guys. Relax.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. What do you mean I mean, unions can ask for dues, but they're just not. Sometimes they're not depending on the contract, they're not obligated to have to pay them, but they can still ask for them. Isn't that free speech?
There was something about it happening during a strike, which violates such and such an ordinance. But yeah, it's the National Right to Work Council is just they're scum.
I mean, the thing you have to realize about lawsuits is that they are a way to dump on people. If you're sued, you have to defend yourself, which takes a certain amount of time and energy. And, in some cases, it doesn't really boil down to right versus wrong, but who's got the resources to deal with the legal stuff. So, it's a tactic.
Yep.
Well,
sorry,
go ahead, Jamie. No, I was going to say, in some brighter news, there's something that's going on in Worcester.
Yeah. So Mass Live had a story up on a program that has helped keep restaurants afloat by buying and then delivering meals to people that have to quarantine. So the group is named the Coalition for a Healthy Greater Worcester. They're combined with the Maine South Community Development Corporation, the United Way of Central Massachusetts, and Mass Developing. It's like a Voltron of organizations that have formed a super organization called Worcester Together. And so if you're in central Massachusetts, go to healthygreaterworcester.org. Down near the bottom of the website, there's a little bar that says enter your zip code. Are you looking for someone? Are you looking for free or reduced cost services like housing, food, job training? Enter in that zip code. That will get you the names of the organizations in your area that are providing services. But this Worcester Together, they delivered 36,000 meals. They're doing about 300 meals a day. And sadly, the program has run out of money. It was funded by the city, but now they're going back to private donors. So if you are wealthy and you want to help Worcester Together. Feed people, keep restaurants like Cocorico's fried chicken and pizza in business.
Thanks, Mal. So we have other news, Steve, from Europe.
From Europe, yeah. So this one involves what's known as GDPR, which is Europe's General Data Protection Regulation. It's basically a set of laws involving privacy and personal data that applies to countries in the EU, which for a while included the UK, but I'm not sure if it still does now with Brexit. But for the purposes of this week's news, it actually does because of something that predated Brexit. Anyway, this story starts off as sort of a spat between a U.S. News site called Forensic News and a fellow who lived in the UK. The news site wrote some articles about him. He felt they were defamatory, and so he basically sued the website under GDPR. Now, so how does a Brit? It's a British person, but this is before Brexit, so GDPR applied to the UK, and for the purposes of this lawsuit, sounds like it does. So how does a guy in the UK sue a US news site? Well, this news site had a Patreon account, as a way to get subscription monies. And one of the ways that you could pay for your Patreon subscription was in British pounds, and you could also pay in euros. Now, according to the courts, they felt that making the European currency, offering European currency as a way to pay for a subscription was a quote unquote real and effective activity oriented towards the UK and the EU. And therefore, this news site is liable to be sued under GDPR. So now the other GDPR related story, this is kind of interesting. So this was heard in Austria, but the ruling was that a German company potentially violated GDPR by sending data to Google Analytics. And the reason is, well, there are contractual clauses, but, the European courts about, what Google says it will do with your data. But the European courts have ruled that these are not sufficient, primarily because of, FISA law and the U.S. intelligence agencies. So apparently, if you're in the EU, using Google Analytics is also a no-no. And we can thank Max privacy activist Max Schrems for this. This is really a result of the Schrems 2 ruling. So I guess to just sort of cap it out, we can hope that one day that we'll get some kind of data protection regulations in the US, but I am personally not holding my breath.
Yeah. So now, like, either sites get to deal with the compliance cost of providing services to GDPR affected countries, or they can just cut off GDPR affected countries.
Yeah, or another option is probably data segregation. So if you don't with GDPR, the real sticking point is FISA Section 702. This is, the secret warrants that the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court can issue. And, if you keep your data out of a US jurisdiction, I think you're probably okay. Although there are probably folks in the U.S. who will say, well, you're an American company. You can get to your data in Ireland, so go get it, damn it. But, this is GDPR isn't that, in the grand scheme of things, it's not terribly unusual. For example, Indonesia, if you process someone's personal data, it cannot leave the country. So you have to do it if you do data processing in Indonesia, you have to have data centers there, and you cannot take the data outside.
Fascinating.
I'm kind of surprised Google couldn't or chose not to say, oh, this data comes from the EU, thus we will keep it in servers in the EU. It's not like they don't have servers throughout the world.
Actually, well, I should clarify a little bit. They do have servers throughout the world, but I think that this is just one of the cases where they're allowing the suit is being allowed to proceed. But still, if it kind for U.S. companies that do want to do business in Europe, they may have to rethink their storage architecture a bit.
Could we go back to the first story about the GDPR with the guy from the UK?
Yeah.
I don't understand why it would be such a big deal to accept currency or accept money for services, whether it be euros, rupees, or whatever. If you're accepting a product, what's the big deal with taking the money for it? Maybe I'm come from such a libertarian where it's like, oh, well, here's money, here's my service.
So the idea, as I understood it, was GDPR is oriented towards EU citizens, and by allowing payment in euros, you were effectively providing a service to EU citizens and are therefore bound by those laws. Now, if the website had only taken payments in US dollars, then I don't think there would have been a case.
So why would the EU want to stop people from being able to pay in their currency? I guess I'm just not understanding.
Oh, it's not stopping them from using that currency. It's just that if you take payments in that currency, you are responsible for following all of the data protection laws with respect to European subjects.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I got a jet. But before I go, I want to announce that I just found an amazing story titled "Man Who Dressed as Captain Marani for January 6th January 6th Capitol Breach Makes Plea Deal." A man dressed as a Roman legionnaire who claimed to be Captain Marani from the Book of Mormon, the actual Book of Mormon, not the stage play or the movie of the stage play, and then laid siege to the Capitol while dressed like a Roman legionnaire. Wow, his name is Nathan Wayne Entrekin, and he looks exactly like you'd think. Anyway, good night, everybody. I'll see you all in therapy.
Good night, Malt.
Take care, Walt. So we had one more thing that we wanted to talk about, which was a Safari bug that can leak your recent browsing activity and personal identifiers. So if you're using Safari, maybe think of downloading another browser. Firefox, maybe.
Security is hard, man.
DuckDuckGo is a really good one. DuckDuckGo, Tor browsing. Tor browsing is always the way to go.
Right. So no doubt, well, hopefully, I'm sure Apple will have a patch for it, but it looks like it could be an issue. And now that someone's done a proof of concept demo, we know that that will get added to all the ScriptKitty tools and stuff like that. So, protect yourself. Do we have anything else to discuss?
Well, I mean, there's always the nightmare developing over in the Ukraine, but we probably shouldn't touch that one with the 20-foot pole.
There's actually, we should give a little bit of a shout out to our friend Nick, who's been collecting OCPF, Office of Campaign and Political Finance data for the state of Massachusetts, and working on some data visualizations, and hopefully we'll have a video with Nick talking about this at some point in the not too distant future.
That we will. Also, I just want to remind folks who are in New Hampshire, and even if you aren't in New Hampshire, we talked about this last week. New Hampshire State Rep Eric Gallager, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, has an act relative to the use of free and open software, HB 1273. And we put a link, the information in the description where you can, if you support that, if you don't support that, you can, of course, submit testimony, but we don't recommend it. But if you do support it, please do send them emails saying that you support this bill. We also have a link to our article back on the 10th talking about what was in the legislation. And, the more people that submit testimony, written testimony in support of this bill, the hopefully likelier it will be that it will actually get out of committee and ultimately passed. So with that, thanks, folks, for watching our show. We are out every Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. It is me, Steve, Joe, and Malt. If you're interested in helping us with these, send us an email at info@masspirates.org. And we're always interested in people to help us produce it or be yet another talking head on the video screen. And as always, like, subscribe, click that bell, and check us out at masspirates.org. Thank you, folks. Take care.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Good night. Thank you.